Hi guys, and welcome to the Pegasus Show. I'm your host Admiral Pegasus, and on today's show we're going to be doing part 3 of the stage, which is morale. Yes, we are going to be looking into morale, and like the previous 2 videos, we're going to be looking at where can you use morale, what officers put morale, and what background effects, if there is any. Well, there is a background effect, but we'll cover that shortly. So, where can we use morale? Again, like the previous 2 stages, anywhere in the game. As long as you have an officer that procs morale, it's going to work in PvE, PvP, armadas, gold hostiles, you name it, it's going to work. Now, there are specific officers who will be on the niche side of things, whereas other officers are not. So, let's crack on with the officers and who we've actually got. The first one is straight above my head, is Ivanov Arkady. Is it Arkady Ivanov or Arkady Ivanov? And his captain's ability is to proc morale for 3 rounds when your shields are depleted. Yeah. Yeah. You heard me right. When the shields are depleted. Now, again, I don't know if this officer's bugged or not, because I don't recall anyone's ever blasting 3 rounds. Yeah, it works, it works. Yeah, I'm sure I've heard them saying he's broken. I don't know if that's still true, but again, as I've mentioned before in the previous 2 videos, I've not tested it. So it's not an officer I primarily use. He goes out on away teams a lot for me, but yeah, he's there. But again, once your shields are down, you've got a 50-50 chance of proccing morale. So that will work with probably Spock, who regenerates your shields, who we'll just cover briefly in just a moment. But beyond that, yeah, not much else that can be said for this one. Now, your next one, actually, we don't need to go out there. We can just scroll across, is Hikaru Sulu. Again, captain's ability, do not test me. A line from Star Trek Into Darkness, where he's basically laying down the law when it comes to Khan in Klingon space. So, but anyway, enough of that. When getting hit by a critical hit, so very niche way of proccing morale, has a 40% chance of inspiring morale. Yeah, inspiring morale. I suppose I had to word it like that one. For 1 round. Yeah. So basically, you need to be hit by a critical shot. Good luck if that blows you up first time. But again, it's only a 40% chance of proccing. So if you're hit by critical shots constantly, yeah. Now, luckily, you can use this in PvP. But again, is he an officer that you'd put in the captaincy in a PvP situation nowadays? No, he's not. So, but his officer ability does actually require morale to actually work, increasing total damage made by energy weapons by 40%. Woohoo! So, now, the officer I was on about, which was Spock, is this particular one, and it's this particular ability that needs morale to proc. Again, increasing when morale does actually work, increases your restores 750% of your ship's defense to your shields. So this is a great way to keep your shields up. Obviously, do not use him on the G3 Epic Enterprise at tier 3 or higher. Below tier 3, yes, because it will help, because the Enterprise is basically a ship version of Spock. Needs morale. It still needs morale to work. But again, don't stick him on that ship. And again, when it comes to the G4s, just like the burning version in Vermet, yeah, don't stick him on a G4 ship, because you won't be able to muster enough stats to make a dent in restoring those shields to an adequate level to continue fighting. Yeah. So there he is, that spot. Now, main morale proccing officer is, of course, James Tiberius Kirk. At the beginning of each round, Kirk has an 80% chance of inspiring morale for 2 rounds. Again, this is a tier 5 maxed out Kirk. So bearing in mind, just like with Gorkon, just like with Nero, I forgot to mention it in the Nero, for Nero actually, thinking about it. Check out your officer stats where you are about what the chance of proccing their stat ability. So, yeah. Has an captain's ability, increasing stat bonuses for all officers on the ship. So, yeah, not particularly bad. Again, it's not going to be an officer that you'd probably put in a captain's seat. As a famous one that we used to use was putting Leonard McCoy in the captain's seat because of this ability. All officer abilities, so 20% of officer abilities during combat didn't need morale, but obviously is below deck ability as well. So we put him in the captain's seat, put Kirk on the side, job's a good one. So that's Kirk, the first one. Now, the next one we're going to have in the list is going to be Alexander Marcus. Yes, the Admiral who decided he was going to blow the Enterprise up in Star Trek Into Darkness and start a war with the Klingons. Yeah. At the start of each round, if the opponent's hull health is below 80%, it has an 80% chance of aspiring morale for 3 rounds. So, yeah. Good one to carry on. Bit like Charvenex, really. But again, you need the enemy's hull health below 80%. Now, that's not always going to be a guarantee in the first few rounds of combat. So, yeah, again, not an officer I'd ideally put on the bridge, but again, it does work and it keeps going. So this is primarily why we use Alexander Marcus, increasing those piercing stats. Again, mine's maxed out, so luckily it doesn't need morale to proc. So that's your next one. So moving on to the next officer to proc morale, which we're going to have to go down to the TOS set and find Kirk. Yes. 3D strategist. When fighting players, so a PvP mechanic, as long as the ship has morale, James D. Kirk increases weapon energy weapon damage by 50%, the total defense of all officers on the ship, and it does stack. This is a good one when it comes to the Discovery PvP. So, in general PvP though, yeah, if you're up against the strike teams, I really not would recommend it, but hey ho. Officer ability. At the start of each round, if the ship's health is above 30%, yeah, above, so that's good, he has a 90% chance of inspiring morale for that round. Yeah. Once you get below 30%, he stops working. Yeah. Another thing, not a good idea in PvP to have your morale just suddenly stop. So, but again, he is a primary morale officer, the same as other James Tiberius Kirk. So, yeah. Now, there is another one here as well, in the form of Ikaro Sulu. At the start of each round, Sulu has a 55% chance of inspiring morale for 1 round. To be honest, that actually seems a little bit better than Kirk. It really does. So it's up to you if you go with him. Also, he does have an officer ability. It's a little bit niche because you need to be on an explorer at the start of each turn. If the ship has morale, Sulu increases your critical chance by 10% for that round. So basically taking your 12% to 22%. Sorry, no, taking your 12% to 13.2%. I think that's the maths. Obviously, somebody will probably correct me in that one in the comment section down below. So that's that one. And that leaves just 3 officers left to actually look at. The first one is an officer that, thankfully, I do actually have this officer, which is a shocker. Yes, I actually have him. It is Wei Yun. It's the only Epic Strike Team officer I actually have. And again, it's the captain's ability on the round start. He has a 20% chance of inspiring morale for 3 rounds when fighting players on an explorer. So he has to be on like your Enterprise, your Corina, your Burrell, things like that. So absolutely worth it. Full synergy will be 100%. Now, obviously, we do have Ransom available to replace Ikatika, and will still give the maximum 100% to start morale on this one. Obviously, the morale strike team, the Explorer strike team is the weaker of the 3. But again, when got morale on an Explorer, increasing the shots by 76% at the start of each round for 2 rounds when fighting players. Obviously, mine's tier 1. Sourcing for strike teams is through incursions. Yay! What's going to happen when new territory comes out, we do not know. Hopefully, they're going to put them in there as well to give players the ability to source them faster. But yeah, getting that up, it will become deadly as it gets a higher tier. But again, Explorer Strike Team is always going to be the weaker of the 3, sorry. So you've got that. Your next one is going to be pick Admiral Picard. So like Worf, like Riker, Captain's ability, PvP. At the start of each round, 90% chance to apply morale for 3 rounds against players. Again, full synergy with Worf and Riker will give him 100%. So all 3 of these work together to make their abilities 100%. So, and again, as that 500% increase. But again, he needs to be on an Explorer, shooting Explorers. Yes. So, yeah. So that's that one. And then finally, it's our flute playing, never promoted, Ensign Harry Kim, whose below deck ability is to actually proc morale. 10% at tier 1. Tier 5 is going to be 100%. Sourcing is going to be the same as Bolonatoris, which is going to be through doing rare formation armadas, beating them, taking it back to the artifact store, going through the convert into the necessary tab, onto the very, 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 very poor RNG based sourcing. Yes, it's bottomly crap sourcing, but it is theirs. At least they've got, him and Bologna got sourcing, unlike Neelix, who doesn't have sourcing. But anyway, again, it's a PvE and Armada, so not all round, but a general good round as well. So, they're your officers. They're your officers. So, next up is the background effect. Yeah. This one is literally hardly worth mentioning, because there is absolutely no way to actually prove it's working other than if the officer procs. And that is increasing your piercing stats by a massive, a whopping, a huge 10%. Yeah, you heard me right. 10%. Now, you can look at your piercing stats if you wanted. So we'll at least, just for argument's sake, cover that little aspect. Where do you need to have a look for your piercing stats? Well, you're going to go into your ship details. You're going to go on there. And so you got armor piercing, shield piercing. That's it. Or if you actually want to break it down even further to make sure that your weapons, that it's applying to the weapons accurately, go onto your weapon, click on your I button, and there is your armor piercing and your shield piercing, which is obviously far more accurate than using the details, as I learned doing the whole breach video. So just basically increase them by 10%. So let's take the shield piercing, for example. 2,353. So what's your 10% going to be off that one? Yeah. Ridiculously small. I'm not even going to do the math in my head. Literally. It's a, what, 235. That's it. 235. It was simple maths. 235. So that's going to take that to 2,588. Yeah. Does that seem massive? No, it don't. So like I say, really hardly worth mentioning, but it's there, so I'm going to have to mention it anyway. But anyway, that's morale. Hope it was actually informative for you and you know which officers that you would like to pick. Like I say, if you want to test any of those officers and let me know the results, you can drop them in my Discord. The link is in the description down below, along with 2 links for channel donations should you wish to donate to the channel, or you could just join the channel as a member. There is a monthly fee, but again, it will help out the channel. Until then, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm Admiral Pegasus. This is the Pegasus Show. Thank you for joining me. Stay safe, live long and prosper. Goodbye.